Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Hey, I have a question. What happened to the 40 babies that were beheaded by the Palestinian resistance fighters? What happened to the story that the Israeli government announced to the entire world that on October 7th, 2023, the Palestinian resistance fighters beheaded 40 babies? And they even claim that some of these babies were put in ovens and burnt. Can you imagine how barbaric and horrific this act was, if it ever happened? Do you remember when the President of the United States, the ex-President of the United States, Joe Biden, on live television claimed that he did see pictures of these 40 beheaded babies? But what happened to the story? Do you remember when the Western media, the Zionist-backed Western media, propagated this story all over the world? But what happened to this story? Where are the 40 babies that were beheaded? Where are the parents? Where are the fathers and mothers of these 40 babies? Do they have siblings? Do they have family members? Where are they? Why haven't they come up to say anything about what happened? Why is it not, there isn't a memorial? Where were these babies buried? These are questions that need to be asked. And the reason why the story is now dead is because it was a lie, it was a fabrication, it was a manipulation, it was a way of setting the stage to justify Israel's atrocities against the Palestinian people. But the reason why it's vanished, because we believe as Muslims, as Allah commanded the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, in the glorious Quran, and said, وَقُلْ جَاءَ الْحَقُّ وَزَهَقَ الْبَاطِلِ إِنَّ الْبَاطِلَ كَانَ زَهُوقًا. Allah commanded the Holy Prophet Muhammad to say, truth has come and falsehood has vanished, and falsehood is bound to vanish. So this is why this falsehood of the story of the 40 babies beheaded has vanished. Even though some politicians still bring it up. So they killed their own story, they beheaded their own story, and the story has finally vanished. Why did they propagate such a story? So that they prepare themselves to ethnic cleanse the Palestinians, to wage war on the Palestinians, and to justify their killings. And the Western media, one of the fundamental principles of reporting or journalism is the verification of your sources. They did not care about verifying the information that they sent out there about the 40 babies that were beheaded. Because the Zionist bosses in the media institutions, whether it's the CNN or MSNBC or BBC or ABC or France 24, their Zionist bosses knew that this story was a lie, but they still propagated the story because they had an agenda. That's why the words of Allah will always be truth. Because Allah tells us in the glorious Quran, يا أيها الذين آمنوا إن جاءكم فاسق بنبأ فتبينوا. Say, all you believers, when a transgressor or a sinner or a bad person or a liar or somebody who is notorious of mischief brings you any information, like the case of Netanyahu government passing on this information to the world, Fatabayano, the Quran tells us, verify the authenticity of the information. Verify the veracity of the information. فتبينوا أن تصيبوا قوما بجهالة فتصبحوا على ما فعلتم نادمين. Because if you do not verify according to the Quran, you may harm people unknowingly and then become remorseful. But in this case, these people are not remorseful for anything because it was a deliberate attempt on their part to use this as a propaganda to win sympathy from the world, so that when they are carrying on their atrocities against the Palestinian people, the world will sympathize with them. Because this is what the Zionist regime does. Always play the victim card. They are always the victims, even if they are the one inflicting harm and atrocities on people. They play the victim card. But this is not going to work, regardless of how long their propaganda goes, regardless of how long you conceal your life, the truth will always prevail, and falsehood is bound to vanish, as the Holy Quran tells us. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala barakatuh. What's your thoughts? Let me know if you find information about the babies.